Action!
You can call her Pharrell because she is always happy. But don't let her smile fool you. She captures sound for picture in cinema. And on Real Talk, she captured our minds. Ladies and gentlemen, Josephine Obudo. Josephine, yes. Asante sana for coming.
Thank you.
Now, is it a sound engineer, a sound designer?
I actually don't really have a title, per se. Because I find a lot of people that call themselves sound engineers are actually not engineers.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that call themselves designers are also not designers. So it depends on the situation, what I'm doing. Okay. So if I'm on location, I'm a mixer. If I'm in post-production, I'm a mixer, I'm a designer. I can be an engineer if I'm fixing things and mixing or recording. So it depends.
It depends.
Yes.
Okay, so how long have you been doing this?
I think this is now, should be 10, 11 years.
When you started, how was the sector or the industry like? Did it have a lot of women or was it more male dominated?
It was male dominated. It still is. Yeah, so the ratio, it's changing, but it's still largely a male dominated.
And how did you get yourself in sound?
I wanted to be a music producer when I was a kid, but I also wanted to be an actual mechanical engineer. There are these small radios we used to have that I used to like taking them apart, putting them together, and I used to be fascinated, like, what is this coming from the radio? So then when I grew up and learned that, okay, this thing is called music, I wanted to make music. But then over time, I realized I'm not that creatively inclined, so I let it go. But when I was in uni, at a university, one of my friends was doing a short film. So there's this tree we used to sit around, and she came and said, oh, my friend is doing a short film. He wants a sound mixer. And I was on my phone, and I was like, I'll do it. I was actually joking. I wasn't serious about it.
Yeah.
So maybe 3-4 days later, the guy is like, oh, so we are meeting for Reiki. I'm like, Reiki for what? The shoot is next week. I'm like, what shoot? Surely, Shama, you will do sound fast. I'm like, oh, I wasn't serious. I didn't think you were serious either.
Oh, wow.
No, we've planned everything. You have to do it. And I didn't know anything. So fortunately, there's a friend of mine who was a musician. And I had been to a couple of his music video sets. And there's a time I saw them with a small recorder. So my mind just went, that person must know. I was in first year. Yeah. That person must know how to record sound. So I called him. I couldn't realize he also didn't know.
Oh, wow.
But then he said, yes, he'll help me. And then later he was like, you know, this thing is not actually me who does it. It's someone else that does it. But now time was very short. The guy was in Mombasa, blah, blah, blah. So I just took the manual. We went, rented the gear. It was still new, so I took the manual home with me. And I read the manual. I didn't understand 70% of those things.
Yeah.
We went to set. I don't know, I think some things just clicked because I'm natural with equipment things. So we shot for 3 days. We came back to school, premiered the movie. Everyone was like, wow, this movie is nice. The sound is so good. Blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Then a producer told me, well, ndakupatia kazi. And I thought he was joking. Yeah. Then we went for long holiday and he called me. He was like, I have a shoot for you. Are you available? Sure. We went. It was a commissioning show. So we did, I think, 3 or 4 episodes in like 8 days. And everything was strange. The set was strange because in school we didn't have big sets. So seeing big lights, stars I hadn't met, like people I've seen their names on TV but I've never put their faces to their names. It was like being thrown into a jungle. And then unaambiwa, come out of this.
Yeah.
So that night before the shoot, my friend and I, his name is Bradley, we went home, read the manual again because we didn't have any other material and YouTube didn't really have much on sound for film. So we read the manual again and that manual was big. So we didn't finish this one this time. But we went on set and recorded and things kind of worked out.
For the sake of those who may not understand what a sound person does on set, I want you to walk us through the process. If by any chance if you get involved, whatever stage you get involved in pre-production, do you visit sets? How do you judge a location? What happens during production? What happens during post? Walk us through the whole process.
Most of the time, if not all of the time, it's the location sound mixer that will interact with the production company at first, because principal photography. So the location sound mixer is in charge of the sound department on set. They're the ones who will go on Reiki. They will go on, if they don't have enough equipment, they will go and source equipment. They will hire the boom operator. They will hire the sound assistant. So they are the head of department. So once you're in pre-production, you're going through your script, you're preempting problems, you're looking at costumes, like today we had an issue with your costume. So beforehand, you will know, oh, this costume is going to be a problem, this one is fine, blah. So you plan for it. And of course, you have the schedule that the AD gives you, so you go with that. Then when you get on set, depending on what you're shooting, your main key role is to record the actors' voices. So once principal photography is done, you have post-production, which starts with picture. And most times when picture is being done, music will also be done in conjunction. So sometimes one person is in charge in post-production of overseeing both music and the sound edit. Most times it's different people, depending on, like, for example, I don't do music. I do supervise music, but I will hire musicians to do it. Yeah. So it's just the creative storytelling is what now I am bringing. So as music is being made, picture is being edited, we wait for picture lock most of the time. Why we wait for picture lock is because our budgets are small. So if we want to edit like the Universals and the Marvels, we will never finish, because you will just go to your house and think, this scene we can do this and this. Tomorrow morning you call me, Josephine, can we move this? I'm just like, your money is not even enough for what we are already doing. So our budgets are a bit slim. So picture locks helps everybody to just be at peace with their decisions, because you can never finish making a film. You can only stop. There's dialogue editing. We're trying to refine the voices we recorded on set. We're adding sound effects. We're adding the music edit. We're designing. We're doing a lot of things to make the soundtrack. And then there's the final stage, which is the final mix stage or the re-recording stage, so let's say like we're here in this room, like 7 people. You'll be the dialogue editor. I'll be the sound effects editor. There's a background editor. There's an ADR editor. There's a music editor. There's a lot of editors. Then there's 1 or 2 main people at the end, which is usually the sound supervising editor and the mixer, who will now bring all these things we've done together to make the soundtrack of the film. And you'll find, like, in bigger budget productions, you will have a music mixer, you will have a dialogue mixer, and you will have an effects mixer. And then that's why you have a sound supervising editor, because there are people who are very good with mixing film music. There are people who are good with mixing dialogue. Not very many are good with doing everything. But unfortunately, we are forced to do everything.
You have been out of the country for a while to do masterclasses in Nigeria, right?
Yes.
How did you get to that?
A few years after we finished school, they called me for a masterclass in Madari. There was an NGO. So I was very hesitant to go, because I was just like, I don't teach. But then I was like, they're my friends, so let me just go. So I went. We did workshops for a whole day. So what I realized is they were teaching them the theory, and then they wanted me to do the practical bit with them. So it was easier. It wasn't like they don't know completely. Then one of them asked me, why don't you start teaching? And I was just like, why? Because in my mind, 1, I thought teachers used to be paid little. That's 1. 2, I was just like, I'm always traveling. When will I finish these classes? Then one of them went for an interview somewhere in town and called me, and he was like, did you ever, this is like maybe another year or so later, did you ever really think about the teaching thing? I was like, not really. It's like, there's these guys, they're looking for people. So I was in the house like midnight. I'm like, anyway, what will hurt? Let me just send this thing. So I looked at my CV, sent it like midnight or 1 a.m. When I woke up at 8, they had responded. They wanted me to go for an interview. I was like, oh, okay. I went for the interview. I showed up like this. They asked me where are your papers. I'm like, what papers? All my information is on my CV. That was my first formal interview. So me, I just went home thinking they will get back to me later. Then they call us for orientation. I'm like, okay, maybe they will do orientation and then communicate. So at the end of the meeting, the guy is like, you guys should meet HR, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, these guys have actually given us work. They haven't asked us about time, nothing. So I missed my first class. Rather, I went for my first class for 10 minutes. My first ever formal class. I showed up for 10 minutes. It was a Friday. Talked to the students, met them. I was like, there's something I'm going to do. I'll see you guys next week. I left. I called the person who was in charge of the curriculum and told her, my classes can't be Friday. Else I'm going to miss all of them. The easiest way for me to come to school is either Monday, easiest days, or Tuesday. So let's figure a way around it. So by the time I was leaving, I had 4 classes. And I had actually refused classes. I was like, you just add classes as long as they're all on Tuesday, no problem. So I used to teach from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Wow.
It was crazy. So it was COVID period. A friend of mine called me. He was like, do you want to go and teach in Nigeria? I was like, why would I go and teach in Nigeria?
Well, it's always a no in the beginning.
No, the thing is, for me, I usually feel like things people tell me to do. For me, I usually say no first. Because I'm like, what have you seen that I haven't seen? So I was like, okay, sounds good, but why would I go teach in Nigeria? Because in my mind, I thought it was a conventional university setup. The moment I had the first meeting with them, I was like, wow, I actually really want to do this. So when I met the CEO, she was like, do you want to come to Nigeria? Are you ready to come to Nigeria? I was like, yes, let's go to Nigeria. So I went to Nigeria, and it's like Nigeria just embraced me.
Wow.
It was almost like somewhere I'd been, and then I had went back. And like the people I met, that first class was so warm, and it was amazing. So we were doing master classes and production. So it's almost like we're in production beginning to end. Yeah, so that's how the whole thing started.
Okay, so having been in Nigeria for 3.5 years, what can you say is the difference between our industry and their industry?
I would say Nigeria is miles ahead. One thing Nigeria has that Kenya doesn't, and I don't know how many years it will take us to get there, is volume. There is a lot of productions in Nigeria. So mainstream Nigeria is doing amazingly well in all aspects. Picture, production design, sound, it's doing amazingly well. And I think one of the reasons it's in the investment that has been put in the industry. I keep telling Nigerians, me, I can be a millionaire easily in Nigeria than in Kenya. They ask me why. I'm like, because it's very easy for a Nigerian to give me 1 million than it is for a Kenyan to give me 1 million. Which happened actually a few weeks before I came here. A friend of mine who is in real estate, we're having dinner. I asked her, so would you invest in doing a film if you would get maybe say 40% of the film? She asked me a few questions and then she was like, how much would you need? I'm like, maybe like 50 million naira or something. The conversation took place in like 10 minutes. She was like, okay, fine. I'm not saying it's easy. It's easier. I haven't had anybody invest 10 million in Kenya in a movie. All the films I've done, I haven't had anybody say so and so gave us an extra 1 million or 2 million. No, it doesn't happen. The problem, and please, Kenyan creatives should not come for me. The problem we have in this industry, and you're a producer, is most of our producers do not go out to look for money. Most of our producers wait for grants to be announced. They wait for commissioned jobs to be announced, then they apply. They don't actively go out and be like, I have 2 million. can you come with your equipment and your skills? I won't pay you, but I can give you 2%. Or I can only pay you 20K. Do you get?
Yeah.
Then you go to, I don't know, you just go to several people and actually source for the money.
Yeah.
Not a lot of producers are doing that. We wait, and that's why we are complaining. One employer is now giving us low budgets.
So far, what are the challenges that you have faced, especially as a woman in this male-dominated area?
There's a lot of second guessing. For example, sorry to use Edu as an example, the fact that I'm a woman and then you're supposed to hire Edu for this job and then they say, oh, Edu is not available, Koi is available. Someone's just like, a woman. Will she be able to do it? You've already lost a job. Yeah. You haven't even proved yourself that you can do it. It's already gone.
Yeah.
The working hours, of course, in film are strenuous, but then sound is just another. People keep doubting whether you really know what you're doing. Or they find you in the studio. Oh, where is the engineer? A lot of women, it's not like they don't believe in themselves or they don't want to do it. There are a lot of barriers. So you have to be strong enough to be able to break down those barriers.
How do you measure success when it comes to sound for you? Like, what is good sound?
I don't know how to explain it because sound is not really something you see. There are mixes you listen to, and it's almost like the marriage between the picture and the sound is so seamless that you don't really think about the two elements of film. It's almost like it carries you along. I usually say if you do a 10 minutes film, whatever you have in that sound, in your soundtrack for that 10 minutes, think about it. Can you listen to it for 2 hours? So if you can, you've succeeded. If you can't, you have.
What do you wish actors knew about either, like the sound, in terms of how they sound, how they speak? What do you think? What rather would you advise they did more?
I don't know whether I'm right. Directors don't kill me, and actors or emotions. But there is a way I can be angry without shouting. I can be sad without being melodramatic. People don't usually know that if I constantly speak, like on a scale of 1 to 10, my voice is at 2, and then something happens and I randomly shout, and then go down, and then go up, I don't have what's called dynamic range. So it becomes very hard for the mixer to control that, especially if it's not in script, because I don't know when you're going to shout. I don't know when you're going to go low. So it's almost like I'm racing up and down with you. So in the mixer, we will keep hearing that, the up and down movement. And that's why we'll be like, why are they sounding subdued in this part and then this part is... Of course, there's post-production, but also post-production is not going to correct performance. So as much as I'm there to record the best quality, what I'm actually there to do is to record the best performance, best audio performance. I would say most people on set are working for picture. That's not how it was designed. So a lot of development in film came because of sound, actually. So one thing is, if I'm recording performance, you have to feed me the performance. If, for example, in one take, you say, I am going home. The second take, I am going home. The second take, I am going home. Do you get?
Yeah.
When I now go into edit, I can't match those 3 things.
Yeah.
Because you've done them 3 different ways. The continuity is missing. So it's almost like I know an acting coach that says, an actor, you have to say the same thing 30 times the same way. If you can't do that, you can't be an actor.
When it comes to mentorship, have you been in a position where you have mentored someone or some people?
I've mentored in Nigeria over, I think, 125.
Wow.
Sound mixers, sound designers, sound engineers, and more than half of them are actively working in Nollywood. Some of them have done projects I haven't done.
Wow.
Some of them have done Netflix originals, Amazon originals. I haven't done any. I have projects on Netflix, but they're not original. I think in this age of AI, It's very important for you to practice before you get in. Take as many equipment as you can get your hands on and practice using them. Because technology is changing and it's changing fast. So you're practicing so that when Koi is looking for a sound mixer, they're looking for you, not for a sound mixer. Because now there are so many ways of recording sound. So when we now want to do a film, it now becomes an issue of who actually does it better, not what equipment does it better. Using so many equipment taught me that technique is always going to be over technology. So practice as much technique as you can. Record as much, put it in your computer. There are a lot of editing softwares now, but me, I'm a Pro Tools person. I'm actually a Pro Tools certified instructor. So I always talk about Pro Tools. Put it in Pro Tools or put it in whatever DAW you have, edit it, listen to how it sounds. Because we are moving to an age where things need to be seamless. Yeah. There's almost like no room for mistakes because we are using a lot of AI-enabled stuff. Yeah.
Here we have a tradition where at the end of every episode we play a game. The game is very simple. You open this box and then you pick three random questions and you answer. And if you cannot answer, tunakupiga fine ya 200. Hiyo 200 tunanunulia mtu lunch hapa nje.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. What do we need to grow up? In height or what? What do we need to grow up? I think we need people. Yeah, I think we need people. By this I mean you have to get somewhere to draw inspiration from. So if everyone around you, if you look at them, you can't aspire to be better than them or be them, then growth is very limited. And then we also need support. People supporting each other, even in our film industry. What do we need to grow? We need to support each other. We need to stop fighting each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Question number 2.
Hi. Who wrote these questions? If you had a warning label, what would you say? Hey. Don't let the smile fool you.
Ooh. Yeah.
I know I smile a lot. Yeah. I'm actually a nice person, but yeah.
But don't let that fool you.
Yeah. What feelings do you experience the most? I think I'm a happy soul. Yeah. Like I said, I smile a lot.
Yeah.
Even when I'm stressed, I first smile.
Yeah.
Even when I'm mad, I first smile, and then now we deal with the issue. So I think I experience happiness a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. It's not common, by the way. It's not as common as it may sound. Yes. Not as common as it may sound. Thank you so much for making this a wonderful exception.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been Real Talk. Until next time, goodbye.